You are now listening to the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Almost. Major. Holy fucking shit, this is major!
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Almost Major, where we talk about the many major studios and the films they release. We're on our Geffen Pictures mini-series, and today my name is Kevin Tudor. I'm here with Brian Doyle.
Hello.
And the best of the best that this country has have to offer, Dan Mecca's returned. How are you, sir?
Oh, you're too kind. I appreciate it. Thank you. An honor.
Today we are gathered around to talk about The Butcher Boy from 1997. Debuted July 13th, 1997 at the Galway Film Flead? F-L-E-A-D-H. I'm very American. Opened on February 20th, 1998 in the UK and Ireland, and opened in the US April 3rd, 1998 in 9 theaters and maxed out at 90 theaters. The film won the Silver Bear for Best Director at the 48th Annual Berlin International Film Festival. For the budget, I saw £3 million-ish for that. Opening domestic weekend, $135,606. Domestic and overall gross of $5 million. I don't know about the overall gross. But that would definitely not be domestic. But I don't know. For a lot of stuff, for the movies we've been covering for Geffen are kind of weird when it comes to the budgeting, especially like the 80s movies we covered, because they wasn't that big of a deal to report on box office. Top 5 films that weekend: Lost in Space, Titanic.
Wow.
It's that weekend. Yes,
it's that weekend.
It's the infamous weekend where Lost in Space finally knocked Titanic out of the number 1 spot. Yeah. Mercury Rising. I'm surprised that didn't knock out Titanic.
Oh my God, that movie.
Wait, that can't be right. Grease is number 4?
Yeah, was it a re-release? Yeah.
20 years. It's because 1978. That makes sense.
Like a sing along or something.
Okay. And Primary Colors.
God, that's a good movie. Elaine May.
Yeah.
Wrote it, yeah.
Mercury Rising. That movie just doesn't exist.
I mean, it's funny because Alec Baldwin is the villain of that movie, and he's so mean to that kid with he's autistic, right? But like the way Baldwin plays his his underlings are like, well, the kid has autism, and Baldwin's like, I don't fucking care. He's like, drop it. You're just like, oh, dude, Alec, please, I'll do a little less, buddy, please. He really leans into it. That's a crazy movie. Have we all seen Mercury Rising?
No.
Do you know the premise of it at all?
Is it like you know what? You've seen it, so I will. Please recap the premise.
No. We don't need to belabor it. It's just a high concept screenplay movie thing where it's a as a bit / test, this government agency puts a super secret code called Mercury in a crossword puzzle but it's impossible to decipher, and an autistic kid cracks it.
Wow.
Because he's autistic, so his brain works differently. That's that what the movie is positing. And the government stooges find this out, and they literally Alec Baldwin is like, kill the kid. I swear to God, his stooges are like, should we bring the kid in? He's like, bring the kid in. Murder the child. He knows too much. And they're literally like, no, he's autistic. He doesn't even know what he knows. It's not like that. And he's like, do I give a shit? Murder this 9-year-old. And Bruce Willis is this, classic, down on his luck, whatever. And he literally just runs into this kid, and, his marriage is on the rocks. You'll be shocked to hear. And he saves this kid, or tries to save this kid. Yeah. Mercury Rising.
Yeah.
we were talking about I listed that down because we did Last Boy Scout, and late 90s Bruce Willis is so interesting because it was just back-to-back movies where it's just sure.
Last Boy Scout, one of my favorite things in the mirror is you suck. Everybody hates you. Right? That speech he gives himself in the last Boy Scout.
You're gonna lose. Smile.
You're gonna lose. Smile, you fuck. So good.
But it was just like, Brian, you just watched The Jackal. What was that about?
Oh God.
Or like The Kid.
Oh
I
my
remember
God, The
watching
Jackal.
that.
Speaking of Irish accents.
Oh my gosh.
wow.
Yeah, Richard Gere.
That is
That's
the
goal. Yeah.
We were talking about this in some podcast on the B side, must have been, and we were saying, oh yeah. We were talking, or maybe it was this at Oscar Buzz. We went on for The Devil's Own, me and Connor, and we talked about how, Brad Pitt got a lot of shit for his accent in The Devil's Own. Famously, Tom Cruise got a lot of shit for his accent in Far and Away. And even more famously, Kevin Costner got a lot of shit for his accent in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. But what's funny is Brad Pitt actually isn't that bad when you rewatch it. Tom Cruise is very bad, but it's so crazy that it kind of works, and that movie's so operatic you're almost like whatever. And then Kevin Costner doesn't really try. If you watch his Robin Hood, halfway through the movie he basically abandons it.
Yeah.
So it almost works because at some point you're like, well, he's not even trying. But the real worst one is Richard Gere.
Wow.
It's really, and I love Richard Gere. I think he's one of the most underrated actors, and it is a abomination.
Well, it's also funny because it's him doing the Irish accent, and then Diane Venora is right there alongside him doing a very cartoonish Russian accent.
Yeah. Oh, didn't I mention? Oh yeah, I met the Jackal. You're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Who's even? Someone yell cut. Michael Caton Jones yell cut. Richard, what if we just did it in your normal accent? You emigrated. Well, it'd be like Blown Away. You'll just be like Jeff Bridges from Blown Away. You had it, and now you just don't have it anymore.
Jeff Bridges from Blown Away. Both of those movies remind me, I don't know, this is just how my brain works. It's like a 2 hour, probably 10-minute long movie. I'm just imagining people on opening night, 9 p.m. screening, and there's 30 minutes left. People are like, we are tired. Please wrap this up.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, those are movies though. Those are USA at 4 p.m. movies that I watched a lot because I was home. If I wasn't at an extracurricular thing, I was a bit of a latchkey kid. I was living on that USA, baby.
Mm-hmm. Where am I? Number one song in the US this week, All My Life by Casey and JoJo, 10 out of 10 track, hell yeah. Number one song in Canada this week, My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. Maybe they were a little. I looked it up and I was like, isn't this top 3 highest grossing single of all time? And it was. It only went number 1 in the US for 2 weeks.
Wow, interesting.
But still
bangers only though. All My Life and My Heart Will Go On. Wow.
I mean, yeah. Plot description from Google. Francie, played by Eamon Owens, has a disastrous childhood and retreats into television and movies to escape the pain. His mother is suicidal and his alcoholic father, played by Stephen Rea, has little to do with him. Frankie's tendencies to project violent fantasies onto reality lands him in a reform school where he is sexually abused, wildly looking to hold somebody responsible for all the trauma visited on him. Francie targets his neighbors, Mrs. Nugent. That kind of gives away basically the whole film. Good job, Google.
Yeah, and the Nugent thing precedes him going to reform school. He takes a shit in her house. And
That's just a home giving gift, like in Ireland, I guess. I don't know. Who's gonna write in and say no? Based on the book The Butcher Boy by Patrick McCabe, who co-wrote the script with Neil Jordan. Directed by Neil Jordan. Prior to this, Mona Lisa in 1986, The Crying Game in 1992. We will be covering an Interview with the Vampire and Michael Collins in this miniseries. A movie that I have seen, In Dreams in 1999.
Oh.
That is the correct reaction to that.
If somebody was like, can you name 3 things about that movie? That is a wild fucking movie.
Even Neil Jordan seems baffled by that movie. I read as research a reverse shot interview with Michael Koreski and Neil Jordan, and Koreski was saying oh well In Dreams is a very visual movie and everything, and then conveying that, and then Jordan says yeah, I really should have put more work into writing this one, or it's he was kind of sorry about that.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It should have stayed just as a DVD cover I used to see and just be like, wonder what that is. I should have just kept it at that. But The End of the Fair also in 1999.
Oh yeah.
The Brave One in 2007. I'll probably watch that. And Greta in 2018. So yeah, I'm gonna be watching so much Neil Jordan. My goodness. I haven't seen any of these besides the Interview with the Vampire and In Dreams, so a lot to catch up on.
He's made a lot of good movies.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Starring Stephen Rea as DeBrady, and he's also he plays the adult Francie who narrates the story in voiceovers. So
Yeah.
prior to this, Angel in 1982. That's also Neil Jordan's first film. He's actually in most Neil Jordan's films. Life is Sweet in 1990. Nominated for Best Actor for The Crying Game in 1992. Pret-a-Porter in 1994. Fear.com in 2002.
Oh yeah, right.
Hell fucking yeah. That movie sucks. Check it out. V for Vendetta in 2005. And The Reaping in 2007, which is a movie I watched maybe last year, maybe 2 years ago. Don't know, don't remember. Pretty bad.
By Stephen Hopkins, an almost major
Right.
Oh yeah. Speaking of blown away.
That's
Yeah,
right.
there you
The
go.
King. The King.
Yeah. Fiona Shaw as Miss Nugent. Prior to this, My Left Foot in 1989. Super Mario Brothers in 1993.
Oh my God, that's right.
The Avengers in 1998. Black Dahlia in 2006. Hell yeah. She's in 5 out of 8 Harry Potter films.
Who does she play?
She's the ants, the really mean
Oh,
ants.
she's the Dursley aunt. Oh my God.
Yes. The Tree of Life in 2011.
Great scene in The Tree of Life, actually. Like, legit, her scene with Jessica Chastain's incredible in that movie. Yeah.
Colette in 2018. And real film Echo Valley from last year.
Oh my God, Echo Valley. She's good in that. That movie's bad.
Oh wow.
She's legit, though, the best part of Echo Valley. Julianne Moore, right? Sydney Sweeney. I don't
Giving
know.
her chances.
I don't know about Sydney, man.
Just keep giving her
I
chances.
don't know. We'll see.
Also starring Iman Owens and Sean McGinley. Trivia, I just said about Stephen Rea playing 2 parts. Neil Jordan told the Irish Independent that he had thought of, quote-unquote, casting Marilyn Monroe as the Virgin Mary via the technology used in Forrest Gump, but dropped the idea when he realized it had been too expensive. That's the problem. It's too expensive.
Then who plays her, though?
Fucking Sinead O'Connor.
R.I.P., baby. R.I.P.
Oh yeah.
Insane.
Sinead.
This is the final film of the Geffen Film Company. The title role was originally given to a child actor, Byron Hayes. Production was halted so that Neil Jordan could make Michael Collins instead. By the time production had picked up again, Byron Hayes was too old for the role.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, both of this and Mendo Lee, I searched far and wide. This is the most I could find, unless, Brighton, did you find anything else?
Yeah. One thing worth mentioning about Patrick McCabe is he helped write the script with Neil Jordan. They both wrote a few different drafts where they were changing and adding stuff and taking stuff out. He also, McCabe, around this time that this movie's coming out, he writes the book of Breakfast on Pluto, which then Neil Jordan adapts many years later, which still need to see that. But I would like to see it very much. And then
I like Breakfast on Pluto.
Yeah, nice.
It's interesting. I'd be curious to rewatch it now because it's a trans movie.
Yes,
and Killian's playing a trans character, so I imagine the reaction now would be a more critical of that.
Yeah,
but
and
my memory is positive.
Yeah, no, and reading some of Jordan's quotes at the time talking about that movie and that character, I'm thinking, this maybe isn't. I'm and again, I'm saying this not having seen the movie. I'm just thinking I imagine his language would be very different now if you were talking about this movie 20 years later and everything. But but it is just a thing of well, okay, yeah. And then it was interesting hearing people talk about the links that this movie that Butcher Boy has with some of his other works. In that Michael Koreski interview, he talks about how there's kind of a fairy tale thread that runs through Company of Wolves, In Dreams, Breakfast on Pluto, and Butcher Boy.
On Dean has that too.
Yep. I need to see that. Yeah, I think at the time
that's one of my favorite of his movies.
Oh, Colin Farrell, yeah. And then, I think this interview Koreski did was in 2005, so that's
before that, yeah. On Dean is more recent.
Yeah. This is interesting. Not having seen Breakfast on Pluto, but hearing Jordan talk about it, he says the way he talks about Breakfast on Pluto, he makes it sound like it's the inverse of the Butcher Boy, where he says the central character, by force of will and by reason and adopting this persona, turns the sequence of what should be brutal and tragic events into broadly comic events. It's almost like watching something that wants to be a tragedy but is forced to be a comedy in a redemptive way. she forces the world to become a fairy tale. And in that, like, and Butcher Boy, like, it's the inverse and everything, where like the kid loses himself in the fantasy and never really finds his way out of it. Like, he kind of like self-destructs.
That's interesting. That's right. Yeah, the Breakfast on Pluto has like this is a bad comparison, but like Life is Beautiful is obviously a movie that gets a lot of criticism.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of that movie, but it's that same idea of like trying to push through a bad situation with positivity type of a thing. I think it works better with Breakfast on Pluto, but yeah, anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, and there's tons of movies we could talk about where people like use them, like
The
like
Boy in
circumstances-
striped pajamas.
Yeah, oh,
Have we seen anybody seen The Boy in striped pajamas?
That's a bit of a tough one. Yeah. It's he talked about his relationship with Geffen a little bit in this reverse shot thing. He says after Crying Game, which I guess was like a huge hit, David Geffen sent me an interview with the vampire, and I said, look, I've had a bad Hollywood experience before, but if you can let me make this as an independent movie, I'll do it. He said, okay, you have my word, and he kept his word. We made this big $70 million movie with no interference whatsoever. And then he made Michael Collins for Warner Brothers, and then Butcher Boy is paid for by Warner Brothers. But he does talk about, I think it's in a later interview, Film Scouts with Karen Jackney, where he says that when I think it's Geffen who was talking about where like people kept wanting to see the script for Butcher Boy, and he sent them the script, and then they sent back elaborate notes about the language. He says the problem of the language, they called it, asked me to review other ways of saying what we started calling the F word and the C word. So I asked someone to make up a list of alternatives, and good gosh, did we come up with some innovative swearing. I said the gosh part, but yeah, which it is interesting when you watch movies from the UK, the various countries, how like it is like those words are often peppered in quite liberally. Yeah, and then I think like he said like in another interview he was like searching for like 2,000 actors like for like playing the kid, and then Eamon Owens was like the one that they found where like I think it was casting director Maureen Hughes. Yeah, she was visiting. This is with Irish Film and Television Network that he said this that she went to like visit her uncle. And then he directed her to like the local school where they found Eamon Owens and Alan Boyle, I think, who plays Joe, and like and even they also said Eamon Owens' brother Kieran is like plays one of the boys at the fountain. You know, I think they're talking about like the new kids who like when Francie gets out of the reform school and he says like, oh, this is my fountain. It's like, well, it's our fountain now. Yeah, and then they talk, and like Jordan said like the thing with like Eamon Owens like and everything, he's just like in constant motion, and he really got that with like the character. Like that was like a thing that he really thought he got right. There was a quote too from Eamon Owens. We're talking about like how he did find the scene where Milo O'Shea's character is abusing him to be like the most challenging thing to shoot and everything. But like I think he said like, you know, like Jordan and O'Shea like handled it well. But then and then like it's interesting because it's a pretty harrowing scene in the movie that I'm about to talk about, but like the scene where like Stephen Ray like kicks the TV in and everything, he was like, that was really funny and everything. Like he was like, I just think that's so funny. He's just like, oh, Stephen Ray was like really funny and we got along well. But yeah, in the context of the movie, when you see that scene in the movie, you're like, geez, this is intense. This kid, like, no wonder he turns out like, I mean, well, that's the other thing that Jordan is talking, and it's the interesting thing about watching this movie is like you're like, you know, all these characters that the kid Jordan was like trying to say that the movie was like, he was trying to present it not in a simplified way where it's like, well, this really mean neighbor of Fiona Shaw is like the reason that this kid goes bad. He's like, no, it's like, it's not that and everything. Like the kid, like he projects that onto her because like, you know, he doesn't have like the language to process like what he's going through and everything. Like he has like a way to like, he doesn't know how to process like the death of his mom and dad, but like he knows like he's maybe more able to understand like, well, my friend doesn't talk to me anymore. Why is that? And like making up sort of reasons for that. And then like it's adults like are not necessarily the problem and everything. Like well, some of them definitely are. But it's like the thing of like a lot of these adults just like don't really know how to offer help to this kid. Like it is a movie about a kid who is like kind of failed by the system and then like just does self-destruct and everything. But it's, I don't know. It was just interesting hearing Jordan talk about this. It also funny reading interviews with him where a lot of the interviewers keep saying like, Jordan doesn't really seem to like doing interviews. He seems kind of like hesitant to talk about his work, but when he does talk about it, it does sound like he has a pretty good understanding of it. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. That's it. That's kind of. I'm sure the more we talk about this, I can offer up more research. But that was some of the stuff that I just wanted to hit on.
No, yeah. I mean, it's fascinating. It even got made.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine Warner Brothers as like the major studio putting this movie out in like my local Cineplex where I work. Like I feel like people would just be like, holy shit.
They were putting that out while kicking David Geffen out of the studio. Just being like, well, I got one more thing. They're like, leave, get out.
We'll take it and get out. Yeah.
So we're gonna have like the scene where the kid's watching the sci-fi movie, and then we're gonna just like have scenes where like, you know, scientists have like bugs in their have bug heads. You know, that sound cool? Yeah.
In a small Irish town where I was born, there was me da and ma
It was an awful woman, your mother.
and me best friend Joe.
Until the end of time.
What are you doing?
Jesus Christ, get out!
No boy is so bad that you can't find a scrap of goodness in him.
But pretty soon they were all after me
Hey, fish, fuck off!
on account of what I'd done on Mrs. Nugent.
Pigs!
This little pig went to market.
So what do you think, pigs? Will Our Lady come or not?
This little pig stayed at home.
Do you think they'd ever just leave the two of us alone, eh, Dad? Just leave the two of us alone.
This little pig had roast beef
Francis, you've unlocked something very precious.
and this little pig had none.
Hello, Francie. Hello, Our Lady. How are things? Not so bad. I was a bit worried there for a while.
So that's all the research we have, all the trivia we have right now. Initial thoughts, Dan. What'd you think of the Butcher Boy?
I thought it was an interesting movie. I didn't ultimately like it too much, but I'm happy I watched it. Like I'd mentioned to you, you fellas, before we started recording. I've been writing a piece for Letterboxd about Irish films. Depending on when you listen to this, it's publishing around St. Patrick's Day. And so I was going to get to The Butcher Boy regardless, because I was catching up with a couple of Neil Jordan movies I hadn't seen, and that was one of them. And, you know, it's interesting. It's like I haven't read the McCabe novel, but like I mentioned, I had seen Breakfast on Pluto. And I really like Neil Jordan. He really is a filmmaker I really, really like. Like I love Undine. I love Interview with the Vampire. I love Mona Lisa. I love The Company of Wolves. Crying Game has obviously aged in a specific type of a way, but I think as a piece of entertainment, it is a very good movie. The Crying Game. The Good Thief is a remake of, is it Bob Love something, the French film, which is also good. That might be my favorite of his films with Nick Nolte. I love, love, love The Good Thief. So he's made a lot of movies I love. He really has. And even like the recent Marlowe movie, I like a lot. Byzantium, I think, is interesting. So what was funny, this is definitely one of my least favorite of his films, but it's interesting watching The Butcher Boy because it's that thing of like, when I'm watching it, all I'm thinking about is like, I bet this book is really good. And it's like, really speaks to some books. Like, it's hard to watch this. Like, it's so sad. You know, like the plot of, I mean, we can go through the plot, but the plot of the movie is literally, I mean, Brian, you went through a lot of it. Like, it's just this poor young boy, Francie, in an impossible situation who clearly has some sort of a schizophrenia, something in his brain that's part of it. They don't go into that, but like the implication is like he's seeing things. There are like, so whether it's a genetic thing or like his father literally cracked his skull, like, you know what I mean? Like,
and his mom has a history of mental illness. Even before she takes her own life, she's taking pills. Yeah,
exactly. So it's like, this is even if there wasn't all of this literal worry of, will I have a bed to sleep in tonight? Right? Like, will my father literally drink himself to death? Right? Like, he has a lot against him. And so it's a hard movie to watch. And then, yeah, the violence, you know, which is so grotesque, it's wild. I mean, he really digs into it, and I think good on Geffen and everybody for producing it. I don't think the children are very good. In my opinion, which I always feel bad saying stuff like that. What's his name? Eamon Owens got a lot of credit.
Yeah,
which I get. It's a very hard role. I don't think it really works. I think Stephen Ray's narration's interesting. I think Jordan, I think it's incredibly brazen that Neil Jordan decides to basically frame it and narrate it and score it like a kid's movie. I think that's like insane.
Like the score choices is not what you would think for certain scenes where like it will be very jaunty when horrifying things are happening on screen.
Yeah, it's
so
really
strange.
I think it's a little envelope pushing. Like he's literally like, let me make Willy Wonka, right? Which also has a lot of violence in it actually, but it's almost like you almost think that's the framework. He's almost like, I'm going to aesthetically and musically and narrationally make this like a kid's movie, except this kid like either becomes or is a sociopath, right? And it's like, we're going to blame it on the system, which feels correct. Yeah. So I was fascinated watching it. It didn't really work for me, but I was kind of like, this is crazy. This is crazy he made this. And like we joked about before, it's crazy Geffen like was like, yeah, what do you need? A couple million? Yeah, go do it. Yeah, go make your Butcher Boy. You made me so much money on Interview. Go ahead. You made your Michael Collins movie. You know, it's like... Well, another complicated Irish accent, Michael Collins. You'll talk about it, Julia Roberts. Famously, Kitty Kiernan. Have either of you seen it yet, Michael Collins?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I
Yeah,
won't spoil it.
No, we'll get to it. Yeah, it's
You'll get to it.
Yeah,
she's doing her best.
I'm curious which other Neil Jordan movies you caught up with for the article that you had not seen before.
Well, I'd seen most. I really love Neil Jordan. What did I rewatch? I watched Angel I have not seen, I'll say. But The Company of Wolves, I've seen. Mona Lisa's great. High Spirits, actually, funny enough, High Spirits I haven't
There's
seen.
There's so many people in that.
Yeah, High Spirits I've always meant to watch. It was such a catastrophic flop. Like, it really was a bit... Like, High Spirits and We're No Angels in a row were, like, really big misses for Neil Jordan. And they were, like, his comedies. And so I think to the point of his interview quotes, like... You know, I actually haven't seen The Miracle, so that's another one I haven't seen. So those are three early ones. Actually,
I've heard that's good, but like it was like a small movie, and like I think even Jordan says like, oh, I'm glad people liked it, but like no one saw it. Like
yeah, and that's
like,
Donald McCann's like a famous Irish actor. He's in like 4 out of the 20 movies I picked for my list. Donald McCann is in. He's a great actor. So I should watch that. And then basically everything else I've watched. So like The Crying Game, Interview, Michael Collins, Butcher Boy, In Dreams, End of the Affair, Good Thief, Breakfast on Pluto, The Brave One, Ondine, Byzantium, Greta Marlowe. I've watched all of them.
God,
and so I basically like all of them, and the two that maybe I struggle with the most are The Brave One and The Butcher Boy. But I would say similar things about The Brave One that I'm saying about The Butcher Boy. Like I would recommend, like if you're somebody who likes movies, I'd be like, oh, check it out. Like it's very like brave. Like, and even In Dreams, I would defend.
No.
Like it doesn't work. Like it's in that same camp. It like doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it's one of the things I like about Neil Jordan, where it's like he really goes for it. Like, and when it works, like The Company of Wolves is like that. If you guys haven't seen that, it's like an insane.
I will be watching that.
You should watch The Company of Wolves. It's like an insane movie, and it's like it works. Yeah, and it's reading this list. He really hasn't had a big successful movie in a while, so you hope he can keep making movies. You know, he produced Intermission, the John Crowley movie, which is a great movie. That's on my list that I wrote. I watched The Courier, which is an okay movie. You know, like he's one of Ireland's most prolific, filmmakers.
Have you read any? I've not read any of this. Have you read any of his books? Because he also has like a career as like a novelist too.
No, Neil Jordan. No.
Yeah, no, I haven't read any of it either, but like, I think one of his like first things is like a short stories collection. I'm like, I might.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Into checking that out. But yeah, no.
Wow.
He's an interesting guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I honestly don't know if I knew that.
In The Company of Wolves, Terrence Stamp is uncredited as playing the devil.
Did not remember that.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
Can't wait. Bryden, what did you think of The Butcher Boy?
I liked this pretty well. I will say, watching this in the afternoon, it was like the thing of like, I think this is a very good movie, but you are also right, Dan, that it is tough going. And like, even when I was like into what it was doing, I was like sort of checking both, like kind of like I was like, just anticipating like, when we were going to be recording, I was like, checking the time, but I was also occasionally checking. I was like, oh, I still have like another hour left in this movie of this kid suffering. I'm like, and like I was into how the movie was presenting all of this and everything, like visually and sonically, and I like all the actors in it pretty well. But like it is like I feel like it is just worth mentioning for people that this is a very content warnings for like scenes of like dealing with suicide and child abuse and sexual abuse and all kinds of other miserable subject matter that is like I think worth mentioning. I do think it is. I wonder if it's maybe the thing of I do tend to like a lot of movies about people who are kind of teetering on the edge of like despair, and I think often like diving into fantasy as a way of coping with it. I mean a movie I really like, and I think Dan that you really like, and Kevin you like this movie too, is Vanilla Sky.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Oh sure, I love that.
Where
Oh my
like
God, yes.
the thing that is revealed at the end of that movie, spoilers for a 25-year-old movie, is like that, like the guy, his perfect life that he seems to be living, it's like, no, it's fake. It's all made up from like movies and TV shows and records he was listening to deal with the fact that he didn't want to live his really sad real life anymore. And
I
it's
have
like
no idea what that's like. So yeah,
what would that be like?
I mean, watching that movie when I was depressed, I was like, cryo sleep.
That would be nice, just to sleep. Yeah.
Good vibrations in the background somewhere.
So I definitely gravitated towards that element in this movie where this kid is going to the movies and like losing himself in the world of like comic books and records and everything. But the movie is very, even when he is like losing himself in the fantasy, and the kid is like sort of like putting out a role where he's like often like he's like self-mythologizing and like narrating his own stuff, and even gets to the point where I think in his narration where he's referring to himself in the third person, where he's just like kind of like disassociate from who he is. It's like you're always aware of just like how like this kid is like just like he just is getting one step closer to like completely losing it, where like he's like swatting flies like that are like surrounding around his dad, who's been like sitting in the house for like dead for days. I mean, it's just like it made me think of this is a few years after Butcher Boy, but in the movie Morven Collar, where like Samantha Morton, her boyfriend, takes her own life at the start of that movie, and then she's just like making a frozen pizza and like running across the room and hopping over to like her dead boyfriend's coast. And I'm just like, geez, someone who just does not want to deal with like the reality that they are living in. And it's some of the camera work in this reminded me of I just watched the Peter Jackson movie Brain Dead for the first time, and some of like the sort of decentered like tilted like shots of like people like talking, and like even like they're just like like hard cut to someone like just like laughing uproariously. It is like just kind of like a funhouse mirror vision of like this kid's life and everything, where it's just like this is like even and it's like the thing where like Jordan never really lets you feel settled in any scene, like even like during the scene when the uncle from England, Ian Hart, comes to visit, like, and everyone's like and hey, like, men don't leave, they're playing the accordion.
Hey.
But like you're always like cutting to like Stephen Ray in the background like smoking a cigarette and like pouring himself another drink and like looking really pissed, and you're just like, when is this gonna like explode and everything? And it does, like a scene later. I do think Eamon Owens is quite good in this. It is I understand I think I understand it's a big ask to put a movie, especially this weighty, on the shoulders of like a kid.
He's in every frame of the movie,
that is the thing. If the performance does not work for you, that is like a totally fair thing to ding it for. But I also understand you're like 15-year-old kid or however old he was when he made this movie. It's like, that's like you sort of like measure the criticism, I guess. So, you were doing.
No, it's I mean, look, the thing is, I mean, most kids are bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like at acting, but it's an impossible. Like I've said this. Like, should kids even be acting? You know what I mean? It's such a crazy, like, ethical question asking
especially
this kid
back then.
That's what I mean. Asking this kid to do everything he does in this movie. It's so interesting. It's like, man, it's like, so at that core level, you respect so much of what he's doing. And I will say, I do think what he does get right, and this in itself is a compliment, is I think a thing the movie does really well and speaks to kind of Jordan too as a filmmaker is like, he's annoying. And it's like one of the sad things about a lot of people, and this is so unfair, is like, if you are annoying, people won't want to be friends with you. And if you're a kid, like, that's really hard. And so, like, take away all the other real tragedy, and that in itself is a tragedy. You know, like, even as, like, a father, like, I, like, you know, like any you, like, low-key worry about that with your kid. Like, you're like, don't be annoying. Like, be like.
What if my kid grows up and he sucks?
But you know what I'm saying? Like be. And when I say be cool, I don't mean like be cool, like cool, like I mean cool, like just be chill.
Yeah.
Like, and Francie is not chill. He's like manic.
The most non-chill kid.
He's excited. He's excitable. And the tragedy is like, it's really not his fault. And really nobody ever tries to get on his level in any way. And his one friend Joe does almost out of like obligation. And then when that obligation is taken away from him, that's the last thing. And it's like, it is so sad.
Yeah. And I think the movie's also aware too of like, this is the other thing. I don't always bring up the comparisons between the whatever movies we have for double features, because sometimes movies, like when we're just covering them, we're just like, you know, it's like the thinnest connective tissue. But it's interesting how in Men Don't Leave, there's the scene where like it's like not until like later in the movie that you realize that the friend that Charlie Korsmo makes is like a kid who lives in like a suburban house, pretty comfortable life and everything, as opposed to like Charlie Korsmo. His family seems to be like, you know, teetering on the edge of like, you know, possibly like not being able to make money and feed themselves and everything. And then like it's the scene where like, you know, like the lottery thing, like the other kid is like so flippant about saying like, what are you talking about? We said we were going to split the money, and like Korsmo like clearly invested all this meaning in it and everything, and like the kid is just like, well, no, and like, but he also doesn't like take the time to think about like, oh, maybe I should have put some more thought into like, you know,
maybe just give him some of the fucking money, idiot.
Yeah, and now again he's a kid, but also kid. Like no, he's like so comfortable. No, but he's like so comfortable.
And yeah, he doesn't even think about it. You're right.
Yeah, and then like in Butcher Boy, you know, there's like very much there's talk of like characters like the Fiona Shaw character and the Ian Hart character where they've had some time in England, and they're maybe, you know, especially the Fiona Shaw character, she seems like has a bit of a superior attitude to some of the other people. Ian Hart's maybe a little more good natured, but then like,
well, and it's important. Like, it's important to know she's English.
Right. No. But like, it's like the thing
that's
of like
a whole big
like,
part of it is like she represents this, the Union Jack flag. Like there's a part of that where it's like, there is a real English Irish thing. Like she does look down. She literally like she.
Oh yeah. And it's like, what do you think you're better than me?
People.
Like, yeah, it's like, I mean, that's how Stephen Wright reacts to like Ian Hart and everything. Like, you know, and and that's like and like it's the thing of like I mean the Joe, like, you know, he's able to like, you know, he's like doing some of the bad stuff with Francie like at the start of the movie. Like they both steal the Nugent boys comic books and everything, but like Joe like has like parents who are stable and like love him and are able to send him to boarding school, whereas like it's like Francie doesn't have that, and they're just like, all right, throw him up and throw him out and like lock him up and throw away the key and everything. Like it's just like they kind of like just don't really know how to deal with them, and it's like the thing of like you talk about like, you know, if a kid is annoying, like yeah, you sort of deal with them. But I have also like I've known kids like in my life and everything. Like I'm thinking back when I was a kid, and if you're like, oh yeah, that kid was kind of tough, and like you could even see like even like the people who were the adults who were supposed to be helping them were like did not seem to like them very much. And then you find out like years later, it's like, oh, there might have been something going on like that I was like not aware of, and that's why they were acting that way. And it's like you feel kind of it just
sucks. It's like it's so, you know, you know, it's a movie. You know, there's no compassion, right? I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you know, and it's a shame that these situations, you know, it's a shame to watch this movie 30 years later and be like, in some ways we've gotten better and in other ways we've gotten worse, right? And it's funny to just kind of think about, you know, we really do, if you are not provided any avenue with which to be understood or to be raised up in any economical way, you are doomed. I mean, it's very hard. It's like, and so, yeah, there's tough scenes. it'll be a movie that probably grows on me, as I'm talking about it even now. But Kevin, what did you think? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched that. I didn't really care for it.
You didn't care for it. Yeah. I mean, it's that. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I think it's like, it's just one of those things where, like I said, it's fascinating it even exists, and it's also fascinating that the other movie this team makes is Breakfast on Pluto, which is like the inverse.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, I would want to watch Breakfast on Pluto now, like soon, to see how direct that is.
Yeah, it's also just interesting to me, like thinking about. I mean, you talk about how you really like a lot of Neil Jordan's movies. I sometimes struggle with his movies. Like, I feel like he's really good at like casting his movies and making like all the characters feel like they're part of like the same world that they live in, and making it like bringing real texture to it and everything. I mean, that's like that stuff I love in Crying Game and The Good Thief and everything. Like, just how he films some of the spaces that they live in. You're just like, wow, like I just like, can we just hang out in this place for a little bit? This is really cool. And then I sometimes like the thing I bump up against is like how he ends his movies. Like I remember I remember like Mona Lisa at the ending of that being like me kind of like bumping up on that and everything. And
with young Pierce Brosnan, his first movie.
Is that Pierce Brosnan or is that Long Good Friday?
I feel like sorry, I always do that.
No.
You're right. I'm sorry. No. It's the Long Good Friday. You're right. Yeah. I always swap the endings of those movies.
I need to see that. I've heard that's so good.
I won't spoil it, but at the end of Long Good Friday, you get young Pierce Brosnan. But sorry, you're right. Yeah, you're right about. It's funny about Mona Lisa. Yeah, I know what you mean. He's a very. I mean, look, we talked about it a little bit before. He maybe the way he directs emotion is a little out of date. Like maybe the way he, kind of tracks complicated emotions in his movies seems corny now. You know what I mean? Like that's maybe a very real thing.
Yeah. I don't know that I found it. It's the thing of like, I don't know if I found it corny, but I think it was the pacing that I sometimes struggled with this movie, and it worked for me in this and everything. But I can also understand throwing this movie at someone and like just being like, is the whole movie just going to be watching this kid suffer? Like that's a tough thing to narrativize in a it it's like it kind of is. Like there are fleeting moments where like you get like people who are kind to him, but like it's really not.
And I'm always curious with a movie like this where I'm like, why did you want to make this? Like, I understand why in the sense of like, there's so much in it, but it's like, I am always curious. I'm like, like you wanted to make this movie, like, cause like this has to be a passion project, right? It's like, no one's doing this because of the paycheck. But it's like, you tell me he makes Michael Collins. I'm like, well, that makes sense. Michael Collins, Easter Rising, right? Like the revolutionary, he's such an important part of like the last century of like Ireland, the way it is now at all, it's like, so yeah, of course this, I'm like, damn. Okay. Like, I mean,
in that reverse shot interview I keep citing is that like, Jordan, I think he's like in his mid 70s now, but like this movie takes place in the early 60s around the Cuban Missile Crisis, which is a thing that they keep kind of like threatening. Like, not only is this kid dealing with all this terrible stuff in the immediate world that he's living in, but there's also a threat of like terrible stuff that's happening elsewhere in the world and could like overtake him. But like, he says that like, so like he's maybe familiar with like this time that he's growing up in. He also says that like
it's his Fablemans.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. My goodness. Yeah.
Just thinking that. No.
It's his favorite.
But then he also says that the thing that like with focusing on like a character who is annoying is that like he says what attracts me is that often these characters like the town bully or the cross-dressing village, etc. That's his words describing the character Breakfast on Pluto. He says, what attracts me is that they often would be on the margins of the story. It's hard to know whether certain characters come to life or not. They either come to have their own life or they don't. I think when you decide to make a movie, and the voice of the central character has to be speaking back to you. And I do think it is. And I think that speaks to his compassion as a filmmaker of like, a character who like would be a sidekick or a villain in a movie and everything. He's just like saying, well, what makes the person that way?
Yeah, that's like, a good answer. Like, yeah, it's a good answer. Yeah.
I guess that's the thing that makes the movie not a dirge, is that like, or not a dirge, but like not just a miserablest thing, is that like, you know, people, I think Jordan and I think a few other people were calling the movie like a black comedy, I guess, because there are, I guess, a few moments of like dark comedy and everything, but it's like, it's just, it's like, it is like the darkest thing. I mean, like when, you know, fucking Francie is like, you know, creepily, he's provoked by like the priest and he stabs him in the neck and everything, comes to him in the jail cell, and then like the groundskeeper says like, nice job, mate, like, you know, we were all waiting for like someone to do something like this, like apples and cigarettes. But like, yeah, it's I don't know, man. I do like this movie, but
do we think Martin McDonagh likes this movie?
Oh, well, some of the same actors. I mean,
right, very much in that realm. Martin McDonagh, I think, more comedy, but the darkness, when you think of Banshees of Inisherin, when you think of, yeah,
I mean, the small town thing of like when Francie loses his one friend, he's like, well, who else do I know? Nobody else likes me and everything.
I was thinking of Banshees watching this movie. I was like, it is, you know, it is kind of like a McCabe book a little bit. You're like, oh, okay. You know, like McDonagh must like this movie or the book, you know?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It's,
do you like Martin McDonagh movies, Kevin Tudor?
I've only seen the Benches of Inisherin, and I did very much like that.
Oh, well, there you go. He's only. Made
did you miss out?
He's only made.
I've never seen In Bruges, but wait, no. What else has he made?
Ebbing, Missouri. The 3 Billboards.
Oh, quite bad.
Yeah, 3 Billboards, Banshees.
Did you do Seven Psychopaths?
Seven Psychopaths.
I have seen that. Also not good.
Oh, I like Seven Psychopaths and In Bruges. Those are the only 4 though, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's like. I mean, he does a lot of plays, I guess. But
fun fact, he won an Oscar for 6 Shooter, which is a pretty good short that Brendan Gleeson's in. And then I think, did he win an Oscar? No, I don't think did he win an Oscar for Ebbing? Did he win a screenplay Oscar for Ebbing?
Ooh, good question.
I don't know. Sam Rockwell won. Maybe he didn't.
Best Actress and Best Supporting Actor. That's what it won for.
So he has not won. He's won the 1 Oscar for 6 Shooter.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, he'll win another one, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Butcher Boys is his next project. No.
Boys with a Z. Boys.
Oh, no.
I mean, I guess also, I mean, look, we've kind of run through the movie and everything. Like, I mean, it ends I mean, like, where, like, it's like after he gets out of the reform school for shitting in Mrs. Nugent's house, he gets out. Joe doesn't really, I mean, Joe tries to be friends with him, but then like it's really it's the scene where like they really have, it's kind of like the Saint Peter denying Jesus moment where like the Mrs. Nugent's brothers are beating up Francie up and everything, and then like Joe's like, they say like, oh, is this a friend of yours? And he's like, oh, I'm not really friends with him, I'm just like, you know, he just like keeps like coming around here and everything. And then runs away, and then his dad dies somehow out of drinking himself to death, and then the police find him, and then he's taken to like a mental hospital, and like he's given like
electroshock therapy, and
it's like again conveyed in like a very like bizarre way where like the camera's like trained on like the gurney, it's like spinning around the room. It's, I mean, Jordan directs the hell out of it, but like it's still like very, very grim. And then he breaks out. How does he get back to town? He goes back to town, finds out Joe is at a boarding school, and he goes out to like the town. He takes like a bike trip where he goes to the sort of seaside town where his parents had talked about living there. And there's that really sad scene where like initially he's like goes into the hotel where his parents had stayed when they got married, and the woman's like, oh yeah, like there's like great music and everything. And like there's an interesting thing where like the voiceover by Stephen Ray is often like drowning out what the characters are actually saying in the scene. So like it's like almost kind of like in both timelines, like Francie's just like kind of like living like what he wants to hear and everything. And then like when they get to the photos of like all the people who have stayed there, he's like, oh yeah, that's my mom and dad. And it's like you see the hotel owner realize like, oh, I'm talking about somebody different. Your parents, like, and like, I mean, she handles it. Yeah, she handles it really badly where she kind of doesn't want to say it. And then she says that they were basically like pigs and everything. And then like he like runs out and gets drunk, and then he goes to see Joe like try to like break him out, and he's treating it like it's like kind of like like a ruse and everything. And Joe finally says, "I don't want to be friends with you anymore." Like it's we're like, and then he's thrown out. He goes back to town, and they're all having like it's like they think like is it like they're going to be visited by like. Or like, do they think like the Virgin Mary is going to visit? They think like one of the saints is like going to make an appearance in their town. Am I wrong about this? Like that's who
I don't know. I
visiting?
can't. I'm having trouble remembering what exactly they're waiting for in that.
Because they have all the
square.
like they're breaking out like crucifixes and a children's choir and like all these like other things. Like so they're clearly expecting some kind of religious setting. And then earlier in the movie, Francie claims that he's like being talked to by like a saint and everything who appears in the movie as Sinead O'Connor.
Well, not I mean, Mary.
Yeah. I wanted to be sure that's who it was. Yeah. And the great pop singer Sinead O'Connor plays her.
Yeah.
And Jordan talked about like it was. I mean, someone addressed this in an interview. It's like the irony of like Sinead O'Connor, who spoke out very publicly against like the misdeeds of the Catholic Church and everything.
Yeah.
But then like but like Jordan says, like, but she's very interested by religion, whatever criticism she has of it.
Well, and was right. Right.
Yeah,
like, that also makes it more interesting. There's so many priests were molesting boys, and girls.
Yes. Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah.
So and then he fucking hacks the shit out of Fiona Shaw.
Yeah, it's really upsetting when it happens because like I'm
upsetting.
Yeah, because I think like when like the movie starts, like he's in like a full body cast, and you're like, and he says like, "Why did you do it to Mrs. Nugent?" And I'm thinking like, oh goodness, like what did he? But I am like watching the movie because like it starts out with just like stupid pranks, like he's like asking her to like pay a toll, like just to walk down the street and everything, and you think like, oh, is it just gonna be like some stupid prank? And then it's like, no, it's like terrible. And then like he ends up in, and then like he's like institutionalized like basically for the rest of his life until he like turns into an adult age and everything, and then he gets out. And it's Stephen Ray playing him as an adult, and then he has like a conversation with the Virgin Mary, and like I think like it's a thing that the movie's like touched on before, like it's like a question I think like Francie asked like Joe like, as a kid when they're like at the fountain. He's like, do you think like if you do like one bad thing as a kid, like that defines you for like your whole life? And then like I think he's like basically asking that question at the end of the movie. He's like asking like, is my life like just like over now? Like I don't really know how to engage with the rest of the world and everything. And then like she does like toss him like like a flower and everything, like a little petal and everything. And like the person who like is escorting him out of the hospital says like, oh, did you just like pick a flower and everything? But I don't know. I mean, I guess it is like, I mean, and then the movie does end on like kind of an iris out shot and everything, which is like I think you can zoom in on like young Francie's eye, and that's what takes us into like the present day or whatever it is that he's getting out as an adult and everything. So I guess I don't know if it's maybe meant to be ambiguous about like, is this guy gonna just like, is there a way forward for this guy now, like that he's like after all that he's done and like been through and everything. But I don't know. I mean, I like to think that there's like a note of, I mean, especially like the compassion and like dimension that Jordan has afforded this character throughout the whole movie. I like to think that he maybe still harbors some hope that this guy is not like completely lost forever.
A small note of grace at the end.
Yeah. I don't know. It's but again, at the end of the movie, I mean, I listen, and I say this as someone who admires the movie a great deal and thinks it's very well made, but it is like a thing of like at the end of the movie, you're just like, whew, it's a lot to handle.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And the last movie of the Geffen run.
Yeah.
The final one.
Was it because of
Butcher Boy that they stopped?
So. No, I mean, yeah, I guess not, but yeah, it's wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess is there like a specific, because it's Beavis and Butthead was a big hit.
That and Joe's Apartment are the ones that we're gonna do last because those are MTV Films and Geffen.
That's true. Oh my God, Joe's Apartment, man! I grew up with that.
Yeah.
Talking about a movie I grew up with, baby.
It's our apartment too. Yep, I haven't seen it in like 25 years probably. But yeah. Anything else?
No, I was happy I watched it. Challenging movie.
Yeah, but yeah, and I look forward to reading that piece on Irish films that you're writing.
Oh my God!
Because there's a lot of good stuff out there, for sure. Yeah,
I know.
It's cool stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I had so many there. At some point, I'm going to do a part 2. because there's just so many movies. It's like, I'm excited for it to get out there.
Yeah, I think it's cool too because like throw a rock at like the film industry, you're likely to hit like a British filmmaker and everything. Like like actually English and everything. I think it's interesting to like look at like what's like Scottish and Irish and Welsh cinema.
I know.
Like,
I would like
other
to
parts
do.
of the UK.
Yeah, it would be cool to do Welsh. I was thinking about that. It would be cool because we just did Anthony Hopkins and he's directed a couple movies. It would be cool to do Welsh films. It'd be really cool to do Scottish films. Peter Mullen and a lot of people. Yeah, it's interesting. It really is. Yeah, that whole cluster of islands.
Yeah,
lot of good art.
What about writing an article about films set at Orange County?
I'll be the first in line to write it. First in line to read it.
Stay tuned.
I thought it was going to be about movies set in Orange County. You gave us 50,000 words on the film Orange County.
You wrote a book about Orange County.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
Thank you for listening. To hear more shows from the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, please select the link in the description